Welcome everyone to this Housing and Environment Scrutiny Committee on the 20th of October 2025. This meeting will be live streamed and a recording made available to view via the Council's website, except for discussions involving confidential or exempt items. Therefore, the images and audio of those individuals speaking will be publicly available to all via the recording on the Council's website at caerphilly.gov.uk. I think we've had a list of apologies, Mark.
Yes, thank you, Chair. We've had apologies from councillors Chapman, Davis and Whitcomb.
Thank you. Councillors and officers are reminded of their personal responsibility to declare any personal and/or prejudicial interest in respect of any item of business on this agenda in accordance with the Local Government Act 2000, the Council's Constitution and the Code of Conduct for both councillors and officers. Are there any declarations?
No hands raised, Chair.
Thank you. I now go on to approving the minutes of the Environment and Scrutiny Committee held on 16th of September 2025. Check for accuracy, page 1, page 2, page 3, page 4, page 5, page 6. Can I have a mover?
I move that, Chair.
And a seconder?
I second, Chair.
Thank you. And can we take that to the vote, please?
Screen now, Chair. The minutes are carried, Chair. 10 votes for and no votes against, 1 abstention.
Thank you. Are there any matters referred to this committee in accordance with the call-in procedure?
No matters called in for this meeting, Chair.
Thank you. I'm now going to hand over to Mark when we discuss the forward work programme.
Thank you, Chair. Members are asked to review the forward work programme for the Housing and Environment Scrutiny Committee alongside the Cabinet forward work programme in your packs and suggest any amendments, additions, as long as they meet the criteria set out in Appendix 3 of your packs. The next meeting for this committee will be on the 9th of December. As you can see, there's a report, there's the rent charges, annual report, HRA, and also the biannual update development and governance project board, which will be coming as an information item. If members are happy with the forward work programme, I'd like to seek permission to publish onto the council's website. Thank you, Chair.
Councillor Judith Pritchard, you put your hand up.
Yes, please. I'd like to add an item to the forward work programme about homelessness, and it goes like this. Can we have an update on the eligibility criteria for homeless residents seeking accommodation provided by the council, with particular reference to single people?
Thank you, Judith. And Councillor McConnell.
Thank you, Chair. Could an update report be provided, please, on the status of the closed neighbourhood housing offices?
Thank you for that, Councillor McConnell.
Thank you, Chair. So we've got that, a request for an update report on the homelessness provision, including the eligibility criteria, and also a future update report on the plans for the former housing offices. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. Do I have a mover?
I move, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Adams. And a seconder?
A second, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Eran. We'll now take that to the vote.
Thank you, Chair. That's been carried unanimously, and it includes the additions just discussed a few seconds ago. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Mark. We now move on to agenda item 6 and the housing revenue account budget monitoring for 2025 to 26, quarter 2, and that's going to be introduced by Shane Cook, Councillor Shane Cook.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Good evening, members. The report in front of you notes the projected position for the Housing Revenue Account, HRA, for the 2025-26 financial year, based on the income and expenditure movements of the first 6 months of the year, and includes the HRA capital programme, which is mainly funded by the HRA. The HRA is a projected underspend of 2.8 million for the year end of 2025-26, and is based on the income and expenditure patterns for the first 6 months of the year, together with knowledge of the service from the prospective managers. The surplus is split between general revenue underspends and capital related underspends. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Cook. We've got
Barry?
is Gedwin Barry going to make a contribution, or are we going to go straight to questions? If not, well, we'll go straight to questions. There's a number in the pre-meeting. Firstly, I'll call on Councillor Teresa Heron.
Thank you, Chair. I wanted to just check on my questions I asked about the overspend.
Yeah.
What measures the council taken to address the significant overspend of 841,000 in temporary accommodation, to increase the availability of suitable permanent housing options, particularly for single persons household, and to reduce the reliance on costly bed and breakfast placements? Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll happily answer that, Councillor.
Yeah.
I just for point of clarity, I think that relates to the second paper this evening.
There has been a bit of an overlap earlier on in the pre-meeting where some of the questions were raised that fitted more with item 7. So if you want to wait for that there, we can take that then, Nick.
I'm happy to. Yes, thank you.
And Councillor Hussey.
Yep. Thank you, Chair. In the report, it highlights the garages and garage voids. I was just wondering how many garages we've actually got in the borough and how many are actually voided. Personally, they're too expensive and they're too small for the modern larger cars. I would think that some of the garages would be better off demolished and the parking spaces be freed up for residents to park their cars on, like a carport type of thing. But I'd just be interested to know how many garages are voided, because obviously because of the expense of them, people are not renting them and their cars wouldn't fit in them. Thanks.
Thanks, Councillor Hussey. I don't have the exact numbers to hand, apologies, but that can obviously be found for you. But I think we've had a debate on this in previous scrutinies and other debates with members around the need to look at our garage provision across the county borough. Quite a number are actually privately rented, a number are void, and these sites could lend themselves very usefully to infill development if seen as surplus and not required across the county borough. And it's one of the work streams we're looking to kind of bring forward to look at how we can increase our supply on our land, adding that to our land prospectus that drives everything we do from a new build perspective. So it's on the long-term work stream plans to kind of address some of that. There could be other solutions also in terms of alternative parking, as you referenced, but primary view on that work stream is to see where they would lend themselves to any relatively quick modern methods of construction or infill development to increase our housing numbers.
Yeah, thank you, Nick, because Councillor Pritchard brought up a good point about the modular buildings for single people. But like if the garage is one there, obviously when these pods could be put in these places if possible. But if you could let me know how many garages and how many voids are in the borough, I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Absolutely can after this meeting, Councillor Hussey, and just on that modular perspective, we have done some review and got quite advanced in a review in terms of delivering modular on some of our land. But some of the solutions that came back, I took the view that was cost prohibitive at the time. So we're still under review in terms of what other modular solutions we might be able to explore. Definitely something that I want to take forward on the sites that lend themselves to it. But at the moment, we haven't found a product that meets our cost expectations at the moment, but we're continuing to review that.
Okay, thanks, Nick.
Councillor Hussey, wasn't it something else you wanted to raise about public toilets? Was that...
Oh yeah, yeah. I wasn't sure if somebody else would come on that. Yeah, just wondering how many public conveniences we got in the borough. Because I know we've still got a toilet strategy going on, but I was just wondering how many toilets we got and why we've got a budget for it, when obviously if a toilet had been decommissioned, the water and electricity, etc., would have been turned off. So why we got, I know it's only a small amount of money, but I'm just wondering why that is.
That's not something within my control, so I don't know the numbers or the figures, but I think there have been some discussions around some of the toilet provision, correct me if I'm wrong here, please, but around the cat transfer and how that might work with some of the kind of toilets that could be potentially deemed usable by other groups. We haven't had a proposal at the moment that we would look at in terms of redeveloping any of the public toilet provision across the county borough into housing as of yet. But if presented as an opportunity, we would clearly take a look at that and see if any infill development could be delivered and those sort of opportunities. But I haven't to date had anything for that. I think that's all managed by Ben from Land and Property.
Yeah, thanks, Nick. I know, like you say, the Newbridge toilets have been closed a number of years, and a fantastic tattoo studio have taken that over, and the one in Risca, I think the cat transfer have gone ahead, and I think there's two small businesses that have gone in there.
I've known in the past in previous jobs where restaurants have gone in there. You may not want to eat there, but they have gone in there. So
yeah, thanks, Nick.
Thank you very much for that, Nick. Are there any other questions? Councillor Bob Owen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a quick one from me. Looking at this on the rental side of things with this report on about that the spend on the HRA self-financed mainly by the rental income that we collect from the council tenants, of which about 78% is funded by housing benefits. So if I take that, then there's only 22% of our tenants are actually paying full rent. And if that is the case, I was just wondering if we could get an idea across the old borough where the the sort of areas where the people are paying and where there's more benefits being paid. I'm just guessing this is along the lines of hardship and whatever. Could we have a sort of a breakdown of where the rental issues are in terms of benefits versus full payment, etc., across the borough? Would that be possible?
I'm not sure that would be GDPR compliant, but I can have a look. I'm pretty sure it'd be restricted information that we wouldn't be able to kind of publish in that way. But I can probably, without any certainty on this, I'd say it would be a spread across the county boroughs, not localised to any kind of geographic area necessarily. That 78% is in full or part paid for by housing benefit, so it won't be full benefit. So 22% don't have any support. That 78% is graded. Some will be 100% backed by housing benefit, universal credit, and others would be a kind of a proportion would be paid for by HB universal credit. But I'm not sure how we are able to share that kind of benefit information. I think we would be caught out by GDPR, but we can definitely check that with Housing Benefit.
Okay, thanks, Nick. I'm just very interested in the sort of how the borough lies then in terms of all of that. If we can't have it, we can't have it. But I just thought when I read it, and I knew it was high, but I didn't realise it was that high. So I was a little bit shocked, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, sure. There was going to be another paper, as I think this was alluded to on the Forward Work Programme earlier, around the rent settlement, and there's been a new rent settlement from Welsh Government, which will be detailed in the new report, which won't necessarily change that. We'll be able to comment a little bit more about the whole rental strategy over the coming years for scrutiny in due course.
Thank you very much, Nick. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Are there any other questions on this item? Well, I can't see any hands. That item is for noting, and now we'll move on to item 7, and the Housing Environment Budget Monitoring Report, also to be introduced by Councillor Shane Cook.
Thank you, Chair. Members, this report summarises the most recent budget monitoring projections for 2025-26 based on the financial information available as of the 31st of August 2025. The Housing and Environment Directorate provides a very diverse range of frontline services to residents and businesses. The services included within this report have a total revised net budget of 61.38 million and are forecasting an overspend of 1.49 million. Based on information as of the 31st of August 2025. It's important to note forecasts contain assumptions for the rest of the financial year, with budgets and savings continually monitored to the end of the financial year to ensure management action is taken on areas forecasting overspend. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Cook. Just before I take questions, can I make an observation, something that was discussed in the pre-meeting. When we read the report, paragraph 5.2.8, page 35, for example, when talking, giving examples of figures, we've got overachievements income of 0.004 million, and it's 0.018 million. We felt it might be easier to read if it was £4,000 or £18,000 or £150,000 rather than 0.004 or whatever it may be. It's a stylistic point of view, but it's sometimes easier to read. It's just, I don't know if anyone wants to consider what we thought when we write these reports going forward, but some of us felt it would be much easier when we first read it. I'll now move on to. Oh, sorry, Nick, did you want to come in? Or would you? Oh, sorry. No one can see this, but I got Councillor Heron waving at me and pointing to me. I'll now take Councillor Heron. The question she's asked, and only Nick wants to respond to Councillor Heron.
Hi, Nick. Did you need me to repeat the question?
No, it's fine, Councillor Heron. Thank you. It's something that's front and centre of my brain most days, so I'm happy to answer that without a prompt necessarily. Yeah, this is something that we absolutely are reviewing kind of regularly. It's up there as a kind of priority. And just to recap, if people are joining the video late or the live stream late, this is around the 841,000 projected overspend to year end at Q2 for our homelessness provision and budget. This is predominantly with regards to the lack of permanent move on and actually the lack of temporary accommodation for largely single households across the county borough. We're doing a lot of reviewing what best practice is out there at the moment across a lot of our other peer authorities. We've had some really good, interesting discussions recently, and it is something that I've raised with the Welsh Government recently around how there's an ability to review how we service those TA costs across the council budget. So that's thrown up some really interesting discussions, and hopefully something that we can look at in due course. We are motoring ahead with Leasing Scheme Wales, which I think is part of the report, where we got I think it's 2 or 3 properties into the leasing scheme at the moment, another 14 about to land, which will reduce some of the pressure on our single persons. But a lot of this revolves around the inability to get benefit for this, unlike what we just talked about with 78% of our general needs stock, which can be housing benefit backed across the piece, which can be up to all of their rent paid for. We can only get 20% housing benefit support on temporary accommodation unless there is some sort of supported housing provision within there. We do a lot of supported housing provision across our temporary accommodation, our specialist accommodation, which our supporting housing team do a lot of. And we exercise a lot of revenue support from grants from Welsh Government to provide that support, of which we are reached and breached. So we aren't able to provide any more supported accommodation, which would drive down the kind of ask from the general fund. The discussion across our peers, I'm hoping to yield some positive outcomes, but it's early discussions at the moment in terms of what we can and can't do. There are some opportunities to access the Transitional Accommodation Capital Programme, which is a grant programme from Welsh Government, which is targeted at those who are homeless or in fear of homelessness, which would be able to give some capital grants to either acquire new properties or build new properties for ourselves, which we are exploring and trying to utilise as much as we possibly can. We're hoping that programme will be a programme that goes into next financial year as well, and largely to kind of allocate more money towards that next year. So there's a number of areas that we're looking to kind of drive that down. This is projected to year end. I'm hopeful that it won't be that level at year end, but these things do take time to turn around. But it's a daily, weekly, monthly debate that we have with the team of what we can do to try and drive down that cost. As I said, largely single person accommodation, but there are families that are in temporary accommodation, too many in my view and the council's view, and we have to kind of look at all provision across all areas to try and drive down those costs to the general fund.
Thank you, Nick. I appreciate it's a very difficult area, and I'm hopeful and I look forward to hearing some updates in the future. So thank you very much for this.
Absolutely. And I think as Councillor Pritchard earlier in the session has asked for an update on homelessness and eligibility criteria, a lot of that has kind of been captured in previous papers, and a lot of that is dealt with the common allocation policy update that's gone through this meeting and cabinet. That does detail some of the eligibility criteria, but the reason I raise that is that the common allocation policy, once in place, will speed up some of the allocation process, will speed up the ability to allocate into our stock and to other social landlord stock across the county borough, and will hopefully in speeding that up will free up other opportunities for those that are on the register that are actually in temporary accommodation as well. So there's another policy driver or policy change, to say, that should hopefully see some of that TA bill come down in the future.
Lovely, thank you.
Councillor Judith Pritchard.
Yes, this is about the catering service, which has got a £77,000 overspend. And what is mentioned in the report is that for school dinners, for instance, which are free in primary schools, we are expected to provide more locally obtained food. And I'm just wondering, I presume this is an all Wales policy, because we do produce in this area meat, but we wouldn't produce much in the way of fruit and vegetables, I wouldn't have thought. So I wonder how we're going to fit in with that. And the other thing is portion sizes. Is there a sort of standard size portion for all children in primary schools? Because obviously you've got smaller children and then older children who will want to eat more. Is there any possibility of tweaking that really so that it's more appropriate to age and making savings in that respect?
I don't know what sounds like.
Thank you for that, Judith. I don't know if anyone wanted to offer Clive Campbell.
Thank you, Chair. As this is in my service here, I think it's probably most appropriate if I respond. On the locally sourced food, we certainly do try and aim to source food where possible, but we are tied into some national frameworks. So they are Welsh frameworks. Locally sourced food doesn't necessarily mean from within the borough. It's from within the region, or certainly Welsh food. And there's quite a lot of fluctuations, especially as reflects the wider economy. Prices are on the increase, so we try and keep that under control as best we can. So really, it's more about controlling costs rather than finding substantial savings at the moment. In terms of, sorry, let me just mute that. In terms of, oh, sorry, the other question was
portion size.
Portion sizes, yes, thank you. In terms of portion sizes, we do try and stick to particular portion sizes, because that helps helps us manage the ordering of food. So we need to know roughly what sort of volumes of food we need to order. I wouldn't say there's strict guidance on this, so it is something that is subject to review, and it depends on how much waste product we get from the food we serve. At the moment, there's been a trial in one of our Risca schools, a Welsh government-led trial on different menus, and so we're waiting to see what impact that will have on the direction Welsh government gives on food menus to all local authorities and all schools, and that may have an impact on ordering, quantities, types of food as well, trying to encourage more, not just more sustainable goods, but more healthier food choices as well. But offering the food doesn't necessarily mean it's chosen. And again, we're mindful of what waste may be generated from that.
Thank you. That's very interesting, actually.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Clive. Councillor Dawn Ingram-Jones.
Can I just go back to the homelessness issue we were mentioning earlier? The common allocations policy, when's that going to be in place now, the new one?
Imminently. We're just working through some of the systems to back up the policy. It's not come forward as quickly as we would have liked, and we need the systems to ensure that the choice-based lettings element is operational, so we can provide an update on that in due course.
And I know I've come across one problem is still with rent arrears. Homeless families normally are hindered, and it could be, I mean, the reason could be not their fault, it could be benefit problems or domestic abuse, and they can't be on, they can't have a live application until those rent arrears are cleared. And a lot of them got to go down the debt route, a debt relief order or a bankruptcy or whatever, in order to get on the housing ladder, basically onto the waiting list. So I know this removes that element, doesn't it?
In part, but we'd still have to have a view to their debt and that they've got there. That wouldn't be extinguished due to the new system, as far as I'm aware. We'd still have to understand what level of debt they've still got and whether they can come back and access the register.
So it's still a matter of them having to get it written off, then, basically.
Well, you would have to. Yeah, that would be one way. Yes, that would be one way.
Okay, thank you.
I don't see any hands up at the moment. I just got two questions from myself. On page 35, 36, reference is made to the waste transfer station and the level of overspend surrounding that, and that there's a hope for a grant from the Welsh Government. What happens if we don't succeed in getting that grant? What's the impact then? Is that going to be impacted on this local authority to find the fund? And the other question from me is regarding the leisure services, but I'll wait to see if there's any response for that. Clive?
Thank you, Chair. The issues around the waste transfer station particularly relate to full moon. So there was a report taken to Cabinet last month that gave approval for some urgent repair, maintenance and repair works that are ongoing. And that's being funded from the Extended Producer Responsibility Grant, which is a national programme. Further works, as we started the works, further maintenance urgent works are required following inspection of one of our waste halls, the recycling hall. So we're in the process of trying to apply to Welsh Government for additional grant funding to deal with that. We are quite hopeful that it will be well received, but it requires match funding of 40%. But that would also come from the Extended Producer Responsibility Grant. So if all being well, our total commitment should be manageable within that grant rather than it fully being funded from the Extended Producer Responsibility, but it shouldn't impact on the revenue budget.
Thank you very much for that, Clive. I appreciate it. And on page 38, the reference is made to ongoing pressure with the athletics hub, and the users are struggling to generate income. I'm just wondering what this actually means for the future of that athletics hub and what strategy we've got going forward. Jeff?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Thanks for the question around the athletics hub. Yeah, so the athletics club. The athletics track, is the only one we've got in the county borough. Is based in Cross Pen, Maine. It was funded entirely externally, and was funded on the basis, or was developed on the basis of a very strong and prosperous athletics club. Unfortunately, that athletics club has taken a turn for the worst, and where there was an anticipation that they would accommodate around 80% of the usage profile for the site, that's now dropped to around 20 to 25% of usage of the site. So we're working closely with them to try and address that, primarily around their ability to get coaches, and for those coaches to go through the appropriate qualification platform for them to be able to deliver and work closely with their athletes. But what we are doing at the moment is, through the transformation program, which Sport and Leisure is part of that process, is looking at a new operating model. So we have taken some costs out of the athletics track. The likelihood is that there'll be some additional costs taken out of the athletics track, which will allow us to, as I said, reduce those costs, continue to work with the club and other partners that we are kind of working with, in the hope that we can get a fully functioning and flourishing athletics track. Any athletics track across the UK is reliant fundamentally on there being a strong and prosperous club. That's what we had at one point. Unfortunately, that isn't the case at the moment, but we'll continue to support them to get to where they need to get to.
I appreciate that, Jeff. Thank you very much for that. Councillor Ingram-Jones, your hand is still up. Did you want to come back in?
No, sorry about that.
Legacy hand. Thank you very much. Are there any other questions on the report? Well, the recommendation is for noting, and I think we've duly noted it. and there's no other item on the agenda. So with that, I now close the meeting and bid you all good evening.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks. Hey.
Yeah, good night.
Thanks, everyone.
Good night.